You ever sit there and realize how much of your life you've been giving away, not stolen from you, not taken, given to distractions, given to meaningless noise, given to scrolling, comparing, complaining, doubting, wishing. You've been feeding your time to things that don't move you forward. And then you wonder why your dreams still feel so far away. You wonder why your goals aren't real yet, why your fire's fading, why you feel stuck. It's not that you don't have what it takes, it's that you've been letting distractions eat your destiny alive. Every time you pick up your phone when you should be grinding, every time you choose comfort over progress, every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, you're killing momentum. You're letting your mind get weak. You're letting your purpose get diluted. You're letting the world control you instead of taking control of your world. And that's the reason why so many people never make it. Not because they aren't talented, not because they aren't smart, but because they can't focus. They can't sit in silence long enough to build. They can't lock in long enough to transform. They keep losing themselves in the noise that's built to keep them average. But you're not average. You're not here to blend in. You're not here to live distracted, soft, unfocused, scrolling your life away. You're here because something inside you knows there's more. Something inside you is screaming for clarity, discipline, hunger. You know that if you could just lock in, if you could just stay focused long enough, your entire life would change. You break through, you become unstoppable. But that's the war, not against the world, but against your own distractions. You've got dreams that need your attention. You've got goals that require your obsession. And the truth is, nobody's going to hand it to you. Nobody's going to care if you fail. Nobody's going to feel sorry for you. The world moves on whether you show up or not. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop letting distractions dictate your story. You don't need motivation. You need focus. You need to reclaim your mind, your time, your grind. Because the second you decide to block out the noise, to cut off everything that doesn't serve your purpose, that's the moment you start building power. That's when you go from lost to locked in. That's when the world starts to shift. You're about to find out what happens when you stop feeding your distractions and stop feeding your future. When you stop chasing attention and start chasing mastery. When you stop running from the grind and start living for it. So listen closely, because from this moment on, your focus becomes your weapon. Your discipline becomes your armor. And your mind, your locked in, unstoppable, relentless mind becomes the reason you rise. Your focus determines your future. It's that simple. You can't expect to live an extraordinary life if your attention is scattered in 1,000 directions. The reason most people never become who they're meant to be is because they've allowed distractions to rob them of the one thing that makes success possible: concentration. Every great dream, every breakthrough, every powerful transformation began when someone decided to shut out the noise and lock in. You can't build something meaningful when your mind is constantly chasing every little thing that glitters. You can't grow when your energy is split between your vision and your vices. The truth is, life is not designed for the distracted. Life rewards those who are intentional, those who wake up with purpose and refuse to waste time on things don't align with where they're going. Think about how easy it is to lose your focus today. You open your phone to check one message, and before you know it, an hour has passed. You scroll through feeds filled with people pretending to live better lives than you, and instead of being inspired, you feel smaller. You start comparing, you start doubting, you start procrastinating. You say you want to win, but how can you win when your energy is drained by things that don't move you forward? Focus is a muscle. It must be trained. It must be protected. If you don't learn to control your focus, the world will control it for you. Everything around you is built to capture your attention. The apps, the news, the entertainment, they want your time, your clicks, your energy. But if you give them that, what's left for your goals? What's left for your future? The people who make it, the ones who rise to the top, they're not distracted. They move different. They live with clarity. When they wake up, they already know what needs to be done. They don't chase motivation. They chase results. They understand that focus is power, and power is limited. You can't give it to everything and expect to succeed. You have to choose where it goes. And once you choose, you must protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. You can't afford to be casual with your focus. Casual attention leads to a casual life. You have to decide what deserves your time and what doesn't. Every distraction is a thief dressed as entertainment, as comfort, as convenience. Every moment you give away to it, you lose a piece of your destiny. You have to be ruthless with your focus. That means saying no when everyone else says yes. That means cutting out people, habits, and environments that pull you away from your mission. That means understanding that not everything that's available is valuable. You've got to have the courage to disconnect. You've got to have the discipline to isolate when necessary. Sometimes you need to disappear for a while to come back unrecognizable. You need to stop chasing the validation that comes from being seen and start building the results that come from being focused. The grind doesn't require an audience. It requires your full attention. When you truly understand how much your future depends on your focus, you stop playing games with your time. You stop letting small things steal your peace. You stop wasting energy on arguments, gossip, and negativity. You realize that every second you spend distracted is a second you could have been mastering your craft, improving your mindset, or taking another step toward your goal. The difference between average and elite is focus. The average man wants to do everything. The elite man knows how to do one thing relentlessly. The average man is distracted by noise. The elite man is obsessed with his purpose. There's a moment in every successful person's life when they made a decision to lock in. They decided that nothing and no one would pull them off course. That kind of focus changes everything. It sharpens your vision. It builds resilience. It gives you clarity when others are lost in confusion. Focused people don't panic when things go wrong because they know where they're going. They don't need to be told what to do every day because their vision drives them. They have something deeper than motivation. They have direction. And when you have direction, distractions lose their power. But don't think it's easy. The moment you decide to focus, everything will try to break that focus. Your friends will call you boring. Your phone will tempt you with instant pleasure. The world will try to convince you that you're missing out. But you're not missing out. You're leveling up. You're building something most people never will because they never stay locked in long enough to see results. The hard truth is, focus feels lonely at first. It feels like you're sacrificing too much. But that's only because you've been living surrounded by distractions for so long that silence feels strange. Stay in that silence. That's where clarity grows. That's where you find out who you really are and what you really want. The more focused you become, the more dangerous you become. Not to others, but to your excuses, your laziness, your past self. Because when your focus sharpens, you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop chasing pleasure and start chasing purpose. You stop asking for opportunities and start creating them. That's when life starts to shift. That's when momentum kicks in. And once you taste the power of undivided focus, you'll never go back to living distracted. Your future is waiting on you to make a choice. You can keep giving your energy to distractions that keep you comfortable but average, or you can decide to lock in and build a life that demands respect. The clock is ticking whether you're focused or not. So every time you pick up your phone, every time you procrastinate, every time you get lost in meaningless things, remember this: your focus determines your future. Protect it like it's gold. Because the truth is, it is. When you remove distractions, you create space for growth. Real, powerful, life-altering growth. You can't become the best version of yourself while your attention is scattered. You can't master anything while your energy is being pulled in 100 different directions. Growth requires focus, and focus requires sacrifice. You have to give up the unnecessary to gain the extraordinary. You have to clear out the noise so you can finally hear your own voice. Because deep down, there's a version of you that knows exactly what needs to be done. But that voice has been buried under notifications, entertainment, and endless comparison. You can't grow in that chaos. You have to silence it, not once, but daily, ruthlessly, until all that's left is clarity and purpose. Growth happens when you decide that your life deserves your full attention, when you start taking every day seriously, when you stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline. You don't need more time. You need fewer distractions. You don't need more opportunities. You need sharper focus. The world we live in feeds on your attention. Everything is fighting for it. Everything is trying to steal it. But the ones who rise, the ones who truly evolve, they guard their focus like a fortress. They understand that the mind is the soil of success, and what you plant there grows. If you keep planting distractions, confusion, and comparison, that's exactly what you'll harvest. A life that feels empty and directionless. But if you start planting intention, focus, and discipline, you'll start seeing progress that most people will never touch. Every time you cut off a distraction, you reclaim a piece of yourself. You start feeling stronger, sharper, more alive. The things that used to consume you, scrolling, gossiping, mindless habits, they start losing their grip on you. That's not just focus, that's transformation. You're retraining your mind to live with purpose. You start realizing how much energy you've been wasting on things that don't matter. And when you take that energy back, you become unstoppable. You stop being reactive and start being proactive. You stop being controlled by the world and start controlling your world. Growth doesn't happen when life is easy. It happens when you discipline your attention during the hard times. The mind wants comfort. It wants escape. It wants quick dopamine hits that make you feel productive without doing anything meaningful. But every time you choose focus over distraction, you're rewiring your brain. You're teaching yourself how to stay committed when it's boring, how to stay consistent when no one is clapping, how to stay hungry when success feels far away. That's where the real growth happens. Not in the hype, but in the quiet grind that no one sees. Removing distractions also reveals the truth about who you are. It exposes how much you've been hiding behind busyness. Most people say they don't have time, but they're not busy. They're distracted. They're filling their days with things that don't matter to avoid the things that do. Because when you sit in silence and remove the noise, you have to face yourself. You have to confront your fears, your laziness, your insecurities. That's uncomfortable, but that's where the growth is. You grow when you start asking hard questions. What am I really chasing? Why am I avoiding my purpose? What am I afraid of becoming if I gave my all? Those questions can't be answered when your mind is cluttered with distractions. You have to clear space for that kind of reflection. When you remove distractions, time slows down. You start noticing things you never did before. You start feeling your own potential waking up. You begin to see that every moment you used to waste was a seed you could have planted in your dream. You stop living on autopilot. You start moving with precision. That's when you start separating yourself from the crowd. Because most people live their lives reacting to notifications, reacting to trends, reacting to opinions. But the ones who grow, they move with intention. They decide what deserves their attention and what doesn't. They're not controlled by impulses. They're driven by purpose. It's not just about working harder. It's about working cleaner. You can't grow if your mental space is polluted. You can't elevate when you're carrying distractions disguised as habits. You have to detox your environment, your mind, your circle. Surround yourself with people who remind you of your mission, not those who make you forget it. Create systems that protect your focus. Turn your phone off when you work. Wake up before the world starts demanding your attention. Give yourself hours of undisturbed creation. That's how you build momentum, by making focus a lifestyle, not a mood. You'll start to notice that as you remove distractions, you'll crave depth more than pleasure. You'll want meaning instead of noise. You'll begin to find joy in solitude because that's where growth happens. You'll start choosing self-improvement over entertainment, progress over comfort, purpose over pleasure. And once you taste that kind of growth, there's no going back. You'll realize how small you were living when distractions ruled your life. You'll look back and see how much time you gave away to things that didn't deserve you. And you'll never make that mistake again. Growth is a slow burn. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens through thousands of moments where you say no to distraction and yes to purpose. It happens through the choices no one sees. The nights you stay focused instead of scrolling. The mornings you rise early instead of sleeping in. The times you push through boredom and keep going when nothing exciting is happening. Every one of those moments compounds. They build a version of you that is stronger, wiser, sharper. A version of you that is no longer dependent on external motivation because your focus has become your fuel. Removing distractions is not just about discipline. It's about respect. Respect for your time, your vision, your future. You can't grow if you keep disrespecting your potential. Every minute wasted is a message to your dream that says, you're not important enough. But when you start protecting your focus, you're sending a different message. I'm ready. And that's when life starts responding differently. Opportunities start finding you because your energy has shifted. You're no longer scattered, you're aligned. You're no longer distracted, you're dangerous. At the end of the day, your growth depends on what you're willing to cut off. Every distraction you keep is a wall between you and your future. The more you remove, the higher you rise. It's that simple. The world doesn't need another distracted soul with potential. It needs focused warriors who know where they're going. So clear your mind, silence the noise, and reclaim your attention. That's how you grow, by focusing on what matters and eliminating everything that doesn't. Because in the end, success isn't built on how much you do. It's built on how little you let distract you from your purpose. Discipline is not something you do when it's convenient. It's something you live by when it's painful. It's the language of champions, the habit that separates the dreamers from the doers. When distractions are gone and focus is sharpened, what remains is the battle between you and your habits. And discipline is the sword that wins that war. Discipline doesn't ask you how you feel. It demands what you said you do. It's the quiet force that pushes you forward when your mind screams to stop. It's the structure that keeps your purpose alive when motivation dies out. And that's the truth. Motivation fades, but discipline endures. Discipline is the commitment you make to yourself that no matter how you feel, you'll show up, execute, and finish. You have to understand something. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not filled with applause. It's waking up before sunrise when no one's watching. It's saying no to comfort when your whole body craves rest. It's choosing the long road when shortcuts are calling your name. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be, and there's no other way across. You can pray for success, talk about success, visualize success, but if you don't have the discipline to stay consistent when the excitement wears off, you will never taste it. Discipline is what keeps you moving when the world slows down, when your emotions betray you, and when your progress feels invisible. It's the invisible grind that builds unstoppable momentum. When you live with discipline, you stop relying on luck and start trusting your habits. You don't hope things work out. You make them work out through consistency. You stop negotiating with your mind. You stop saying, maybe tomorrow. You start saying, nah. You start on the promises you make to yourself. Because every time you break your own promise, you weaken your character. You dull your edge. But every time you keep that promise, even when it hurts, you strengthen your foundation. You build integrity. You build confidence. You build a mind that believes in itself. Discipline gives you control, not just over your actions, but over your emotions, your thoughts, your reactions. It's the ultimate power, because once you master yourself, nothing external can control you. Discipline is the truth teller. It exposes how serious you are about your goals. Anyone can talk about change, but only discipline proves it. Because when the excitement is gone, when the hype disappears, when no one is watching, that's when discipline speaks loudest. It's easy to be inspired for a day. It's hard to be consistent for a year. But that's where success lives, in repetition and patience and doing the same thing again and again until it becomes second nature. Discipline doesn't chase intensity, it builds consistency, because one day of effort means nothing if it's followed by a week of excuses. If you want to remove distractions, you can't rely on willpower alone. You need systems of discipline, routines that anchor you when life gets chaotic. Your morning routine, your work ethic, your mindset, your environment, these things must be engineered to support your discipline. You have to make your focus automatic. That means organizing your life in a way that makes distractions hard and discipline easy. If your phone tempts you, put it away. If people around you waste your time, distance yourself. If your habits weaken you, replace them. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself every second. It's about building an environment where focus becomes your default state. People think discipline limits freedom, but that's a lie. Discipline creates freedom. Freedom from chaos, from regret, from wasted time. Freedom from the guilt that comes with knowing you could have done more but didn't. Discipline gives you peace because you know you're doing everything you can. There's no confusion. There's no what if. You move with certainty because your actions align with your vision. The world respects that kind of consistency. People trust those who do what they say. Opportunities find those who stay ready. That's the magic of discipline. It quietly builds the kind of reputation that success is drawn to. But let's be real. Discipline will test you. It will break you down before it builds you up. It will demand sacrifice. You'll lose comfort, friends, distractions, and moments of pleasure. But in exchange, you'll gain something priceless: self-respect. You'll look in the mirror and see someone who doesn't quit, who doesn't fold, who doesn't need external validation to stay driven. That's what discipline does. It builds pride that can't be faked, confidence that can't be bought, and power that can't be taken away. You'll start to notice that when you live with discipline, you stop craving motivation. You stop waiting for the right moment. You become the moment. You act whether it rains or shines, whether you're tired or inspired. Because your actions are no longer based on feelings. They're based on identity. You don't need to feel like a disciplined person to act like one. You act disciplined until you become one. You train your mind until action becomes automatic. You don't negotiate, you don't debate, you just execute. That's how warriors think. That's how champions live. The truth is, most people fail not because they're not talented, but because they're not disciplined. They get distracted. They get emotional. They let their moods control their grind. They start strong but don't finish. But you're different. You're here because you're tired of starting over. You're tired of half commitments. You're ready to lock in for real. You're ready to remove distractions, not just from your environment, but from your spirit. You're ready to build a mind that obeys your goals, not your impulses. Discipline is not punishment, preparation. Every day you stay consistent, you're preparing yourself for the moment that changes everything. Because when opportunity comes, it doesn't knock twice. It shows up once. And if you're not disciplined, you'll miss it. But if you've been grinding, if you've been focused, if you've been disciplined, that moment will recognize you. Success respects discipline. Life rewards the prepared. You can't control how fast the results come, but you can control how disciplined you are while waiting. And that's what separates those who make it from those who don't. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Discipline isn't about doing everything right. It's about not giving up when things go wrong. It's about staying the course even when it's boring, when it's slow, when it's painful. Every day you stay disciplined, you're stacking wins. You may not see them yet, but they're building. They're accumulating into something powerful. And one day you'll wake up and realize that your discipline has built a life most people only dream of. That's why removing distractions is not enough. You must replace them with discipline. Because if you just remove the noise but don't fill the silence with purpose, the distractions will come back stronger. Discipline is what keeps the door locked when temptation knocks. Discipline is what keeps your focus alive when your energy fades. It's the backbone of every success story, the engine behind every legacy. So make discipline your identity. Don't just talk about it. Live it. Let it shape every part of you. Let it decide how you spend your time, how you respond to failure, how you chase your dream. Because at the end of the day, you can't fake discipline. You either have it or you don't. And those who have it, they don't just remove distractions. They rise above them. They don't just talk about greatness. They live it. They don't wait for the right time. They create it. That's what discipline does. It turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. And that's exactly what you're meant to become. Unstoppable. You've got one life, one shot, one story to write. And every distraction you let win, every moment you give to nonsense, every time you let your attention drift, that's a piece of your potential you're throwing away. The world doesn't owe you anything, but it will reflect exactly what you give it. If you give it your focus, your discipline, your hunger, it will give you results that will make your doubters solid. But if you keep feeding your distractions, your comfort, your excuses, it will give you regret. And regret is the heaviest pain you'll ever carry because it's the pain of what could have been. You can't win this game halfway in. You can't be halfway focused, halfway committed, halfway disciplined. You either lock in or you lose. You either take control of your focus or life will control it for you. Every day is a test, not of how talented you are, but how focused you can stay when the world is pulling you in 1,000 directions. And if you can learn to stay locked in, if you can learn to shut out the noise, if you can learn to look your distractions in the face and say, not today, you'll move differently. You'll think differently. You'll live differently. You'll stop being like everyone else and start becoming who you were meant to be. You have to understand that greatness isn't some mystery. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's the result of attention. Pure, deliberate, focused attention. Every champion, every legend, every icon had one thing in common. They learned how to lock in. They learned how to protect their energy, their focus, their time. They stopped letting social media, other people's opinions, or temporary pleasures steal from their mission. They made the decision that nothing mattered more than the goal. And when you make that same decision, you'll feel a shift. You'll feel clarity. You'll feel power. Because your life finally starts moving in one direction, forward. So ask yourself right now, how much longer will you keep getting distracted? How many more months will you waste scrolling, doubting, procrastinating? How much more time will you give to things that don't build you? The clock doesn't stop for anyone. Every second you lose is gone forever. You can't buy it back. You can't rewind. But you can choose right here, right now, to change your focus, to take your attention back, to own your time, to cut off every distraction that's been holding you hostage and move like your dream depends on it, because it does. Don't just talk about change. Live it. Don't just wish for success. Earn it. Don't just pray for focus. Protect it. This is your moment to prove that you're not average, that you're not weak, that you're not another person who gives up halfway. Lock in so deeply that nothing breaks your rhythm. Move with such purpose that distractions can't reach you. Because when you do, when you finally remove every excuse, every distraction, every ounce of wasted time, you'll see what you were always capable of. You'll see that the only limits that ever existed were the ones you allowed. So lock in and never unlock again.